If the crowds don't keep you away, maybe the protests will, because union-backed protesters are expected to converge on some 1,600 Walmart stores tomorrow. Now, they're demanding a higher minimum wage, but will shoppers just take a hike or be so threatened they just pass by Walmart? Labor attorney Carla Katz supports the protest. Carla, what if it boomerangs, though, on the very workers whose cause you're espousing?
I don't think it's going to boomerang. You know, this because it's Thanksgiving, I think, and it's about family and food. It's important to say that Walmart is one of the leaders in the industry of paying people so little they can barely afford food.
But their starting wage is still higher than Starbucks. You like Starbucks?
Their average wage is about 8.883. Right? It's really still
but it's
not
in line
a living
with a lot of
wage.
the big bucks retailers. Do you not like them because they're not union?
Well, that is one reason I don't like them. But the biggest reason I don't like them is because they're the largest employer. They drive down wages in the other industries because they're the largest, 1.4 million employees. And because they...
Well, shoppers can always go elsewhere, right? Remember, there was a time there when the economy was hard hit, the dollar store was benefiting, right?
Right, but I'm talking about their employees, right? Their employees' full-time work, which Walmart calls 34 hours a week as opposed to 40, the average worker there is still only earning $15,500 a year, and it's just not enough.
Well, first of all, Carla, I see where you're coming from, but the fact of the matter is, rarely have I walked into a Walmart and seen a worker chained to a register or a shelf. Having said that, I also feel for customers of Walmart who want to take advantage of price breaks and stuff that they can't get elsewhere.
Of course, but that shouldn't be on the backs of the people that work there.
Well, how do you know it's on the backs of people? You're assuming they're getting paid pennies on the hour.
Well, because people are paying, the taxpayers are paying $7.8 billion in public assistance, corporate welfare to one company, to Walmart.
But you say that the same of other retailers who might have similar or even lower hourly wages. Why do you pick on Walmart?
Because they're the largest. Because that's where the protests are that we're talking about on Friday.
But they're also the largest source of buys for average folks who at Thanksgiving,
including
more than any time of year, get a break. Well, their own
spokesperson back in February said that they would consider raising the minimum wage because they believe it'll drive more customers into their store, including
But
their
they also said that their minimum wage, you can go to almost any state, is higher than that state's average. So what is an acceptable minimum wage for you?
The big problem, well, I'll get back to that, but the big problem is that not only are they paying a low wage, but they're also not giving people full-time work.
Then why is it when one opens up, there was one that opened up with the 300 position, more than 4,000 showed up? Why are they doing that? If they know it's like borderline Attica with fluorescent light.
Well, people need jobs, right? We know that. But most of the jobs that have been created...
You can't piss on the jobs, then.
Well, we can. Most of the jobs that have been created in the last 4 years, 44% of them have been service jobs, not at minimum wage necessarily.
Now, Starbucks hires a lot of people. You like Starbucks.
Well,
so their baristas... I
like the coffee.
Fine. But their baristas, maybe it's reflected in the price of the product, but their baristas are paid a lower on average minimum wage. Now, I guess I'm curious about how do you pick and choose whose wage is closer to the cause you want to espouse?
No, I actually believe that it's an issue not just for Walmart and other big box retailers. It's fast food. It's the low-wage worker industry in general, right? As more jobs are created in an industry, we have to ask ourselves as a country, what are good jobs we should be able to support?
You might be very egalitarian. Do you think people in this country are perfectly willing to pay more for a product to pay a higher wage?
I do.
Well, then how come...
I do.
Every time McDonald's fusses around with its value meal, they lose customers.
I think that if we want good jobs, if we want a thriving middle class, we might need to pay a little bit more for our burgers.
Isn't that the responsibility of an economy?
It is the responsibility.
Gets that environment?
Yeah,
why are you putting it on Walmart to fix all the economic ills?
Well, Walmart is emblematic. And in part because they're the largest employer, as not just in the United States, but globally.
They're also the largest provider of basic consumer products that people are getting a break on.
I'm not saying that something is inherently evil about Walmart that does not apply to other companies like McDonald's.
But Walmart is the one you're referring to.
Well, we're talking about the protests, hopefully, that will be larger than ever on this coming Black Friday.
What if Walmart raised its hourly rate to a point that satisfied you but drove them out of business? Then what?
Well, I don't think that could happen. I mean, first of all,
It's happened in corporate America.
Yeah, but they could easily absorb the cost. I mean, they have spent, last year they spent
People thought that about Pier 1 imports,
buying their
and
own
then it
stock
almost
back.
went bankrupt. So there is a point at which you go, all right, well, we want to do what Carla says, hopefully keep our doors open, and there's damn near closed.
But you can't just talk about any job being created as being an acceptable job. I mean, we could create millions of jobs by making jobs $1 an hour.
One
right?
that pays
$1 an hour.
No. We're not talking about $1 an hour.
Right, so
we're talking jobs that
enough?
pay a minimum of $8.25 an hour.
We're
talking jobs that are minimum of $1 over the minimum average, and we're talking about benefits that are generous by comparison to any comparable retailer.
Right. We want jobs that let you support your family, be able to pay your bills, not choose between rent and food, basic necessities, and then, have enough for emergencies. Just a living wage.
Okay. Carla, always good seeing you.
Happy
Regardless, it is Thanksgiving. Let's share the love. Carla Katz, she is a great guest around here.